Birds of Prey is woefully underperforming to the level I think it surprises almost everyone. I mean, if you look at the newest box office numbers, you see a 50% plunge transpiring over the holiday weekend, saying this thing, it is pretty much done. Now, we'll take a look at the numbers, looking at specific days leading up to that. We'll look at where the earnings are, but also look at the desperation in this. You have name changes, for example, coming up, where Harley Quinn is pushed front and center. Like, people don't really know that at all. That says something about advertisement to me, though. It says Hollywood executives are freaking out, thinking, hey, we didn't advertise well. Maybe they should ask themselves how they advertised at all. Hey there. So today we are returning to that wonderful world of regret. And yeah, there are a lot of people out in Hollywood right now that are absolutely regretting the moves that they made when it came to the movie Birds of Prey. I mean, you have a lot of places that are pointing out the fact that Joker, for example, made $1 billion. It has a connection to Joker, so why exactly can it earn? And while they're on that, why exactly would you take a franchise that made $1 billion, one that has a connection to this movie, and decide, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave the Joker out of the fray. I mean, great marketing decisions. Instead of doing all of that stuff together, what you end up doing is advertising on buzzwords. I mean, whether or not your product, your end result has them, you advertise on that. You seem like you're placating certain individuals out there, and you see what the end result of that is. It's absolute failure. What's even more telling is what happens in the aftermath and how specific types of people are maligned because of failure. You don't have the people that advertise this getting blasted. You don't have the people that put it together. Nope, you have this certain demographic of folks that you expected to show up for the film. But when they didn't show up for the film, well, it says something terrible about them. Again, utter failure. Now, you see this failure transposed on the movie as evidenced by, well, the numbers. I mean, if we look into what happens before the holiday weekend leading up to it, you can see that this is already going to have problems. You can tell that by the way that it performs in the domestic box office in its opening week before reviews even come out. You expect reviews here to start impacting a movie, but if a movie has enough buzz generated with it, it will continue to perform at a high level. And for the first 4 days, that shouldn't impact it at all, obviously. From there, you have estimates on how other movies have performed. And you'll notice this, the high-low trend. Now, the high trend here would have been around $48.7 million. Low trend is around 41.5. And this, it's trending right at the lowest rung possible. So when we're talking about a movie, we're talking about how it's going to succeed or how it's going to fail. Yeah, this one's having a real problem. Now, when the weekend comes in, it's even worse, with Box Office Mojo projecting Birds of Prey to fall to second place at the box office this weekend with just $16.6 million, a 49% drop, while the 4-day holiday weekend will likely push that total to $21.7 million. That won't be enough for Birds of Prey's $64 million 11-day total to be anything more than a gigantic disappointment. I mean, look at those words there. A gigantic disappointment. This should be emblazoned across signs within Hollywood saying, you did it again. Terminator, Ghostbusters, this. How many times do you have to fail going out and presenting products just like this before you realize that what you're doing is an utter calamity? See, what's telling about these numbers isn't just the weekend fall off. People look at weekend to weekend, but if you look at daily performance and you look at the percentage of change in this, I think that this is fascinating too. If you look at the 7th to the 8th, for example, you have a 6% fall off. The 8th to the 9th, you have a 36% fall off. The 9th to the 10th, you're looking at a 72% fall off, and so on. I mean, this, like I said, when you stack this up, it gives you a predictive model. And that predictive model, it is, what was that again? Oh yeah, failure. See, the production budget for Birds of Prey, it has actually gone up. Originally, we were told that it was $75 million. Well, apparently, it's $82 million. And remember with this that you need to make 2 times that just to break even on advertisement. That is especially true with a movie like this because this movie, it went out and advertised heavily. So what we're talking about here is $164 million before you even see a dime. What's even more laughable about news sources is they take the entirety of the sums that are here and they say, hey, this says that it's going to break even or not. Remember that domestic box office, you only get at best 65% of those numbers. International box office, you get around 45% of those numbers. That's best case scenario. So when you look at this movie, it starts to look like it's going to lose money. Now, what especially drives this failure home is the fact that Suicide Squad 2016's vehicle that basically spawned this movie, it made money. It made money hand over fist. When you look at the domestic box office for it, it made $325,100,054. International box office, you were talking about $420,959,833 for a worldwide box office total of $746,059,887. That doesn't even include the almost $30 million that come in from DVD sales, the over $66 million that you have from Blu-ray sales, for almost an estimated video sale of $100 million additional dollars from this. I mean, really, when you go from numbers like this to the numbers that we are seeing with Birds of Prey, how exactly isn't someone asked to fall on the proverbial sword? How do you go out and point your finger at the audience saying those people are to blame when they proved that they would go out and see Harley Quinn in something if it was interesting to them? And really, I mean, was this even interesting to people? I mean, that's a question too. See, when you check out Rotten Tomatoes, you look up Suicide Squad, what you find out is audience-wise, this was a divisive movie. We're talking a 59% score with users and 145,000 plus rating this. And when it comes to critics, this thing was panned. 27% over 370 folks. Now, when you compare that to the numbers for Birds of Prey, you notice something about the audience score. First of all, you have 80% here, but you only have 9,455 people rating this. This could be because nobody's going to see it, or it could be because this site has decided to protect this movie like they do other movies. We'll see over the long run in it. Another thing that you see here are the critic scores. You had, again, when you look at this, a 27% over 370 folks. You almost have as many total counts with the critics at 338, and they have given it a 79%. So they love this movie compared to the other. And yet, when you look at this success here, doesn't that say that critics, if they love it, it doesn't matter. If they hate it, it doesn't matter. Basically, critics, they don't really matter. Now, what's really telling is when you start looking at the different reviews. I'm talking, again, critic reviews here. You'll notice things like, hey, this is closer to what a comic book representation would be. And if you're familiar with comic books, you don't need context for it. Well, you might be okay. But for the rest of us, this is a disappointment. You go through, too, you'll find people talking about the dreaded male gaze. You find all kinds of stuff that are stuck in this. And again, basically what you have here, people saying, comic books, what's up, dreaded male gaze. And of course, the movie was a mess. I agree. The movie was a freaking mess, too. Now, when you go out and you compare that to the Birds of Prey reviews, yeah, you see exactly what kind of movie you're going to get. You have, first of all, people you can tell would absolutely never read a comic book, never be into that. But then, when you start going through, you find a lot of things that talk about that male gaze. They talk about the patriarchy. If you want to understand the essence of women under patriarchy in its snarkiest, funniest, and most extreme, see Birds of Prey, and emancipate the Harley within. So, I mean, you see these kind of reviews there. You see how people want to put that together. They talk about that new feminist vision, and that, again, may work for critics. It may lead to an 8 out of 10 versus a 3 out of 10, but that doesn't resonate with your normal person out here just looking for an escapist platform. In fact, I think it does the opposite. People want a comic book movie. They want high-octane action. That's why even though Suicide Squad gets panned, even by audiences, you still see people turning out for it because it has that and it has the Joker. But anyway, we're talking about a disappointment. I mean, again, to the extreme disappointment, not surprising. I mean, when I saw that advertised, I thought it would underperform, but the levels of it amaze me. But still, what do you think about this? I mean, when you see all of this, are you surprised by the underperformance? Are you glad by it? Do you think that Hollywood might actually wake up one day? Let me know your thoughts. Let me take this opportunity at the end to thank you for being here too. I sincerely do mean that. That's why I say that every video. I'm proud that people show up. I'm happy because you folks will, support this. You make endeavors possible, and that's awesome. I can't say that enough either. I thank you for your time. I don't want to monopolize it here. And if you like this too, think about subbing to the channel, sharing videos. But again, your time there is valuable enough regardless. So I won't take up any more of it except to say again, thank you. I do appreciate you, and we'll be doing this again soon. So thanks.